Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Double murder rocks Bamboo Walk in St. Mary. Health Minister seeks advice from Attorney General on social cases in hospitals. And later in sports, Croatia and Argentina to do battle in FIFA World Cup semi-finals this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. The St. Mary police are probing the cause of a double murder in Bamboo Walk Monday night. As we hear in this report, the cause of the murders is not known at this time. Two families are trying to come to terms with the death of their loved ones by gunmen in St. Mary last night. According to reports, the two young men were outside the DK Liquor Bar in Bamboo Walk, St. Mary, some minutes to 10 o'clock with a group of patrons. It's understood that a Toyota Probox motorcar drove up and the occupants started firing shots. When the shooting ended, Trevon Davis, 22-year-old of Bamboo Walk, and 33-year-old Odane Edwards of Bamboo Walk and Canada were found suffering from gunshot wounds. They were both rushed to the St. Anne's Bay Hospital, where they were pronounced dead. It's understood that Odane Edwards, who was visiting the island, was scheduled to return to Canada on Wednesday. His mother told our news team that she had left the location no more than 15 minutes before they were shot up.
I left them like 15 minutes ago, then seeing them dead on the white sheet. Didn't know that would even come close to me. They are quiet children. They don't give problem if I ask my son 2 questions. He might answer one. I may have to down in if he answer the next one. My nephew, no matter how much cuss him, I tell him, put him on behind him and him gone. Him not answer me. 2 quiet children. But the scripture that I have is that they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall run. Oh my goodness. Oh God.
Trevon's mother says she was informed of her son's death by a relative from overseas.
So she say, she didn't know me I go take this. Same time I start cry. Because before me even got my bed in the 10 o'clock hours, I day in my house and I hear like 4 gunshots at my door out of the road which part I live. And anyway, I not pay no man, I just got my bed go sleep. And only if you hear them call me and tell me say, my son dead. Trevor not do nobody nothing. Trevor not thief. Trevor not mix up. Before even Trevor argue with me, he gone about him business. You understand? So this is surprising to know say they might call me and tell me say my son dead. Madman.
She says the last time she saw her son was on his birthday 13 days ago. The family members contend that the men are innocent.
Everybody is sad. Everybody is sad. Everybody is crying. Everybody is sad because if it was like they don't give trouble. They don't give trouble. So my restaurant closed today. Restaurant closed because I was supposed to go to the dentist. My nephew who died was supposed to come and work for me because he works when I'm not here. And just like that, boop, 15 minutes after seeing them, we go see them cover up on the white sheet.
This latest incident comes following the stabbing death of a teenager in the parish over the weekend. These latest deaths bring the murder tally in the parish since the start of the year to 45. Chief Public Health Inspector for St. Anne, Leroy Scott, is calling on persons in the parish to make every effort to get rid of rats once they see them in their surroundings. Mr. Scott, who was addressing the St. Anne Municipal Corporation monthly meeting recently, reminded the councillors that rats spread diseases including leptospirosis, and so persons should not be putting themselves at risk, especially when this can be avoided.
Most of the diseases that are spread by rats are from direct contact with the microorganisms, usually from the urine of the rat. And so the surfaces which they contaminate usually come in contact with food or water or direct contact with your hands, and then to food and water directly to your mouth for the organisms to be transferred.
Persons are also encouraged to dispose of their garbage properly to avoid rat infestation. Chairman of the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation, Norman Scott, is calling on the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, to rid the island of illegal dump sites as a matter of urgency. Speaking at the latest sitting of the corporation, Mr. Scott described the sites as unsightly. One such dump site, he says, is located on the Mandela Highway in St. Catherine.
We look like some backward, worse than fourth world country with a situation looking like that. This is on the main road, and we claim we want to be a tourist mega.
There should be no reason for illegal dumping, right? Because what we do is to ask persons, yes, we have not been carrying out our responsibility as we should, and as you are aware, that was as a result of our resource constraints. Now that we have resource, we are correcting that, and we hope that with that, we will see a reduction in the number of dump sites across the country.
Mr. Scott is also urging the NSWMA to put a schedule in place to have garbage collection done at schools in the parish. He noted that several schools in the parish are now struggling with a backlog of garbage.
You know that the Ministry of Education doesn't have a budget for schools collection. Hence, it is the responsibility of the NSWMA to make sure that you put in place a schedule of collection for schools.
The Health Ministry is currently seeking advice from the Attorney General's office about social cases in hospitals. For decades, hospitals have been bombarded with cases where patients who have been released remain in the hospital. Now, this is because they have nowhere else to go, as their families have abandoned them. Several appeals have been made for persons to remove their relatives as they continue to occupy bed spaces, which is already short in the sector. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says despite the issue taking years to be addressed, he is not letting up. It's a huge problem for the sector.
It is going to require some further conversations with local government and with our legal unit to determine what course of action is possible. So our intentions are there. We did prepare some case files, but we have since engaged in some conversations with the Attorney General's Department and have gotten some advice which we will have to rethink and reconsider in terms of what the approach is. But we will, from that advice and consultation, we'll determine a course of action in the new year.
And it's time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. The government has agreed to an additional 2.5 percentage point increase for some public sector workers under the new compensation review system amid growing disquiet over the suggested repayment of allowances outlined in the Ministry of Finance circular. Now, the circular, which was released on Saturday, stirred emotions among civil servants, some of whom believed that they would have to repay allowances received between April and November, following the signing of the wage negotiation agreement by 17 unions. Now, in an effort to address those concerns, the Finance Minister hosted a virtual town hall meeting to answer questions from agencies about the new compensation package. One of which is, will allowances for employees in the departments and agencies that have not yet signed off be discontinued? Dr. Clark reassured that the ministry is contractually obligated to its old system until it changes.
Pays less on a net basis than the new system. So it's not in anybody's interest, really, to continue on the old system. And as I've said publicly before, we're going to need to transition to the new system for everybody before the end of long before the end of the fiscal year, or else the amounts that would be due and owing from April 1st could not be paid for another couple of years because we are not able to carry those back payments. They're very heavy. We have made provisions for them this year. We will not have the space fiscally to carry those back payments into next year.
Now, the agreement is effective as of April 1, 2022. The Education Ministry has officially reintroduced teaching civics in schools. Speaking at the relaunch on Tuesday, Education Minister Favour Williams says the aim of the civic program is to help young Jamaicans see themselves as talents who can aid in national development. This, she says, will help to strengthen the foundation for a successful and balanced society where people will respect each other and the government.
We must note, however, that civics education takes place in a cultural context. We must teach our students about their history, where they're coming from, and where they intend to go. We want to see students who have a healthy consciousness of themselves as Jamaicans, who know their place of dignity, of worth, who understand their rights and their obligations as citizens of the country. We want to build students' education and awareness of the ways in which citizens can actively participate in Jamaica's diverse and inclusive society.
Meanwhile, JTA President-elect Leighton Johnson says considering the chronic social decay and the growing mindset where unethical practices are embraced as normal, the introduction is a step in the right direction.
It is hoped that with the reintroduction of civics in our formal curriculum, we will once again produce individuals and professionals who understand and appreciate the value of being good citizens.
Mr. Johnson says greater collaboration and efficiency is necessary to complement the efforts of schools. And for a look at the economy, here's Cody and Barrett with the Business Minute.
There will be 8 additional satellite centers established to expand the reach of the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says the addition centers are to aid in mitigating and managing disruptions.
So by the middle of next year, your one innovation in Jamaica will become 16 innovations across the world. And the purpose of that is to bring young people across the globe to start thinking about one subject called tourism resilience and how to build capacity to respond to disruptions, to bounce back fast, and to thrive.
In business overseas, the rapid rise in consumer prices is slowing in the U.S. as the cost of energy, used cars, medical care, and airfare fall. Figures from the U.S. Labor Department show that U.S. inflation rose 7.1% over the 12 months to the end of November, dropping from 7.7% in October. That was the slowest pace in nearly a year and better than analysts expected. The U.S. Central Bank has raised interest rates at the fastest pace in decades this year in an effort to get the inflation under control. That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And it's now time for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, says it has provided 1.17 million doses of oral cholera vaccines to Haiti as cases continue to rise in the country. The vaccination campaign is set to start in the next few days, targeting populations over 1 year in the areas most affected by the disease. In addition, the World Health Organization, WHO, advises using the oral vaccination in combination with other measures, particularly those involving water, sanitization, and hygiene, in order to stop the spread of the waterborne disease. On the international scene, in the United States, Texas has seen a major surge in illegal border crossings over the weekend. According to a senior Border Patrol official, an average of 2,400 migrants illegally cross the border daily. This is raising concern among officials that many will try to cross when the Trump-era COVID-19 border policy ends in late December. But the Biden administration is asking Congress for more than $3 billion as it prepares for the end of that policy. The funds are intended to help sustain resources for border management and technology. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jermaine Brown will have your midday sports report.